Hey guys, welcome to a second attempt to live stream here in Odessa, Ukraine. I was sitting in an area with the sun, computer overheated, happens. So I had a chance to go to my room, change my clothes, put on shorts, and it's pretty warm out here, which is great. All right, so, man, is anything going to be working today or what? What's going on? All right, let's get back to the charts. Get back to where we were. Oh, all my charts reset. Oh, great. Okay. So move this down, move this up, I guess. No, I'll move it down as well. Probably better this way. So we were looking at the weekly chart, which will now need to reset as well. Come on. No, not what I wanted. There we go. So I was saying the weekly chart looks pretty bullish, but it has to close in this vicinity or higher, right? We bounced off a Fibonacci line. We bounced off a moving average line. We are now closing in the middle of the reversal candle above the 50% Fibonacci line. So all of these are positive signs. The sequential is on a green 4. That's another positive sign. You do have the combo and the aggressive here, but they don't really mean all that much because there's other counts that are happening right now. I mean, this 9 is only on a 10 of 13, so there's still another sequential 13 coming. The daily chart was also looking very bearish at the bottom of this candle. That turned into a reversal candle as it bounced off of the setup trend line, never even made it to the moving average. And the following candle was, of course, a follow-through candle. We are pulling back a little bit here, but the daily chart is not what I want to focus on, and the 12-hour chart is also not what I want to focus on. The 12-hour chart is probably not going to be telling us very much right now, assuming the indicators will load. It is bullish, but it's the 4-hour chart that I really want to focus on here. How many live viewers do we have? Are we back? Let me see. Where is the thing here? This I should close. This I should pause to save bandwidth. Only 290 live viewers, not a lot. Maybe I lost some with the failed attempt. Okay. Let's go back to the charts. It's the 4-hour chart that interests me. Now, the first thing we will see is, notice how the RSI did not go to overbought territory and is also making a lower high versus the last high. The MACD is in positive territory, but it would be interesting if it rolls over. The CMF was very bullish, and now it's slightly bullish. And let's see if that can actually turn negative and start to go negative. This is a very interesting area right here. So in the last few videos, we were concentrating on this being resistance, and then the moving averages being resistance, and we broke through both of them. This is the last point of resistance, the setup trend line. And I take the setup trend line very seriously. To me, it's really, really important. And I was ready to become a bull if we were able to close above this setup trend line, though ideally above these highs. So this whole area is a major resistance zone for me. So if I do a horizontal channel or just a parallel channel, and now I should just draw a rectangle actually. Let me change that. Is there a rectangle? Where do you find a rectangle? Is this it? Yeah, rectangle. So I take the top of that candle and I go to the bottom of the setup trend line. That's what I want. This area. this to me is a major resistance zone. I'll make it like deep red or something. Okay. Now you can tighten it a little bit. If you, I mean, I'm a little bit under the setup trend line. I also went to the top of the wick. That's not necessary. You could have just gone to the top of the body. You could have gone to this wick. But this general area, this area between 12,500 and 12,100, I'm going to round, okay, is very critical. Getting near the top of this area will force me to admit the trend change has happened and be a bull in the market. It's just based on TA, and it's based on TA I wrote about in 2015. You may not agree with what I consider a trend change. You may scream and yell that I'm an idiot, but my answer to that is your problem, not mine. My criteria from a bear market to a bull market is laid out in this February 2015 article, and I followed my TA. My TA has made me a lot of money in the past. My TA is the reason why I got to this point and why more people watch my videos than all other traders, basically, pretty much. I mean, there's other YouTubers with better numbers than me, but they're not straight up traders. I think Ivan on Tech gets better numbers than me, but he doesn't talk about trading. So these are my rules, and I follow my rules. If you don't follow your own rules of TA, I mean, you can adjust your rules of TA, right? But if I adjust the definition of a bull market, I have to adjust it for everything for the rest of my life and all of my TA. And I was not ready to throw away 15 years of, provable TA work just because it's Bitcoin. Like, that's not what I do, okay? It's not how I trade. So my rules are laid out in this article from February of 2015. I've had these rules long before 2015, long before. And I stuck to it. And by those rules, I will be a bull in the market, but not yet. Not yet. If we get rejected here and we end up going lower than 9,600, then 4,000 is back on the table. Everything is back on the table, right? If we go back to this low, first of all, we're going to break below this moving average, and we'll probably, this is the daily, we'll probably break this moving average. And if we break this moving average, this is the 50 period, then it's straight downhill to the next moving average being 128, okay? And 128 has been relevant in Bitcoin daily for a while. And below that, we have the 200-day. So Bitcoin is at a very critical level for me personally, being mostly this setup trend line. If we break above the setup trend line and we close above it, we have to close above the setup trend line. This would pretty much, I would anticipate higher prices. Now, at which point would I then say I got caught in a bull trap after declaring a trend change? Well, that would be if we go lower than this low, right? So I have not yet declared a bull market, but you know when I'm going to do it, right? I just need to close either above just the setup trend line or above 1250. I have, there's a $300-400 difference here. I think it's, margin of error. I don't think it matters if I declare a bull market at 1220 or at 1250, right? Either way, it wasn't 3,000. So that's based on my criteria. But right now, we were not able to break setup trend and we're going down. But now, these areas of resistance, like the two moving averages and this green line, have just become points of support. They were resistance the last 2 days, but now they're support points. How strong are they as support points? Not very much. They're not that strong, right? So I think it was easy to break them on the way up. It'll be easy to break them on the way down, okay? So I am going to be watching this area over the next few days. And if we get rejected right here, and we start to, and we go back below this green line, if we go back below this green line, which currently sits at 10,750, I will be pretty bearish. I would then expect the low to be broken, and then I would be looking for a potential rebound in the 40% range, which means we would drop to a 40% correction, which is kind of what I wanted to see. Like I said, this met the absolute bare minimums in price drop and how long it took to drop there. It made the bare minimum. It's enough for me to declare a trend change if we go above 1250, but other than that, no. Until that happens, I will wait till the last penny and still consider everything that just happened a giant dead cat bounce. Okay, enough of Bitcoin. Let's look at, I think today's 4th of July. I'm not sure what day it is in New York. Since I'm never, yeah, it is 4th of July. So there you go, guys. I'm ruining your holiday weekend with a video. Hourly chart, not that interesting. I'm not gonna go through that. I gotta load these things up. Ethereum is looking very bad against Bitcoin. I'm sure I already mentioned it, and it's not changing. Ethereum versus the dollar. This is an interesting 9 right here. You had a reversal candle preceding the 9. This 9 did hit just below the 8 candle. Now, this is suggesting that Ethereum should be on a 1 to 4 candle correction. But if Bitcoin is going to break out and go up, then Ethereum can also go up, but it'll just depreciate in dollar terms. Now, ironically, I don't have Monero open anymore. I closed the Monero chart. But in the notification service, we showed you guys that Monero versus the US dollar is on a 9 buy. Ethereum versus the US dollar is on a 9 sell. So this is where the notification service is very, very useful, because if you want to do an arbitrage and you trust the sequential, you would long Monero versus the dollar, and you would short Ethereum versus the dollar, right? Or you go long Monero versus Ethereum, right? Because that if you don't want to make 2 trades, right? So you go long Monero versus Ethereum pair, if such a pair exists, right? Because one is on a 9 sell, the other is on a 9 buy versus the dollars. Now, the better trade could be just buy Bitcoin if it can break the setup trend line on a 4-hour, because Bitcoin will probably outperform both of them. And I think Bitcoin will outperform all shit coins. I'm sure there are some shit coins that it won't, but they're like less than a penny, so who cares? Okay, I mean, all the traditional markets are closed. No, when your computer restarts, everything has to reload. Gold. Gold continues to look good. I'm sure silver's still crappy, but gold continues to look good. And silver, I don't think any of these have really changed since my last video from the airport. Oil, yeah, I would if there is a trade in oil, it's to the downside, even though you got to be mindful of the 1 to 4 candle correction. But this is a major bearish posture. I mean, oil is clearly in a downtrend, as it's made another lower high, and now we got to see if it can make a lower low. I still think oil is going to go sub $20. US dollar is starting to rise. See, gold is always tricky because gold is so dollar dependent. And I expect the euro to go sub parity against the dollar. So I would not be saving in euros. The S&P 500, are the futures trading today? Looks like, they traded into the night, right? So the futures were trading, and this candle shouldn't really count because this candle will not exist in the cash market. But I'm very bullish. I couldn't be more bullish the stock market right now. The week still will have another day to go, Friday. I believe today's Thursday, it is. So there'll be one more day, and let's see if this trend line pulls us back a little bit. Okay, let's talk about interesting stuff. Apparently I had a good Facebook call, someone reminded me. Let's take a look at Facebook. I'm very bullish Facebook. I remain bullish Facebook. Here's the area you could have bought Facebook. A couple of areas. You could have bought this 2 or this 3. Hopefully your stop loss would have held, the stop loss being either the moving average or the bottom of the 9 candle. And the next time to buy in would have been right here on this 2 going above a 1. And you're in a bullish trade. So Facebook looks great. All right, let me show you guys something. This was in our notification service, mostly because one of the people who's coding and building out the notification service, he's from India. So he originally did it for his own work on the Indian markets because that's what he trades. And he found this beauty. This is probably a statistical anomaly of the decade. So the company is called Titan, and look at the daily chart. The daily may not look that interesting, right? We just had a sequential 13 from this 9. We had another 9, which has its own count in the background, and we just had another 9. But in any case, July 2nd, there was a daily 9 that was preceded 2 candles earlier by the sequential 13. That alone, not that interesting. But here's what makes it very interesting. If I go to the weekly chart, here is the week of July 2nd, where the daily 9 marked the top. But look what happened last week. Last week, there was a 9-13 sell telling you, hey, you have a 9-13 sell on a weekly, you may want to get out. This was the last week of June, but the daily didn't top till literally the peak right there on that 9. But here's the best part. Look at the monthly. And here is the month of July. So the month of July was itself a rise into a 9-13. So you have a monthly 9-13 candle. Inside this month, well, technically, the weekly 9-13 was at the very top of the 8 candle, but still good enough. Here is the weekly 9-13, pretty much in line with the monthly 9-13 and a 9 on the daily, 1 candle following the all-time high in the stock, which is ridiculous. Now, on top of it, this is in the NSE stock exchange. So the NSE, the Indian stock exchange, I'm gonna have to look for Nifty. So that's the Nifty. No, I actually want the NSE, the whole thing. Let me see here. India. Is there an NSE? No, that's a stock. I need index. No, not the VIX. Let me see what my Nifty options are. I want everything. I want like the full Nifty. Well, let me try NSC. No, it takes me to Nigeria. Hold on, I probably have it here. Indices. Oh, that's the Nifty. Okay, so let me try this. That's the Nifty 50. Okay. I thought it was on a 9. Or here it is on a 9 daily. Maybe it was weekly. No, it wasn't that. Let me see what we put in the notification service. I just need the ticker. Sometimes the tickers are hard to get. I'm checking on my phone. I don't want to dox my Telegram account again. When did we post it? Yeah, it was the 50. Oh, it was in the beginning of the candle. Okay, and it was 2 days ago. Yeah, so that was the right one. Yeah, it was on July 2nd. So it was this one. The candle just looked very different because we posted in the beginning of the candle. So this did turn out to be a perfected 9. It wasn't in the beginning of the candle. So, and this is happening on the day where the India stock market is itself on a 9. So statistically speaking, this is like the trade of a lifetime, right? Like, I'm not saying it would work. I'm just saying from a statistical perspective, this is what you want to see. So if I go to US stocks, even though Titan is not a US stock, and this trade actually clearly worked out, right? I mean, this thing fell. If you waited till the day, I mean, that's your reversal candle, right? So if you took this trade, let's say you took it, even if you were late to the trade is the stock is down 2.65% in 2 days, even if you got in a little bit late, right? If you waited till the daily 9 and you got in at the open or the close, that's what you got. And well, and the reason I say this is like a trade of a lifetime is because you never get this. I mean, like, what are the chances? Like, think of the probability. You have maybe, even if you have 5,000 stocks to choose from, getting a 913 monthly, a 913 weekly, and a 913 daily, pretty much. Like, you're gonna get this, like, one of those stocks will do this. One of the 5,000 stocks that you can possibly trade will do this. I don't know. You'll probably get this maybe once a month, right? So you don't get a lot of chances like this to take the trade. Now, could this have gone in the opposite direction? Of course it could have, right? Like, people think that we're fortune tellers. We're not. We just take the statistical trade. And if this happened, if I was actively trading and paying attention to my own notification service and actively taking on these trades, I don't know if I would have immediately called my broker and said, hey, am I allowed to trade the Indian stock market? I don't know what this company does. I couldn't care less. All I know is I see like a 913 across 3 different time frames. I'm actually curious what it looked like on the hourly chart and the 10-minute chart. Maybe you can could have even gotten a better trade, right? What do you look like in the hourly chart? The 9 was on July 2nd. So the hourly chart actually gave you a 9 buy right here at the low, but that didn't last very long. But I'm really curious on a 10-minute chart, because if I'm trying to execute a trade inside a particular day, it's the 10-minute chart that I use as a timing mechanism. And I would have loved to see, nope, there wasn't anything useful on a 10-minute chart. So all you had was the daily, which is good enough. Okay, there's the daily. All right. So this is what the notification service is all about. And right now it's free, but eventually it won't be free. And when you have an opportunity like this, it's you got to jump on it. Whether the trade works or not, that's, this is what stop losses are for. Okay, that's all I really wanted to say. I don't really want to look at anything else. I can look at your live chat. I'm also curious how many are watching this live. We got 750 viewers, not bad. Let's look at your live chat. I don't really, I know Socrates took a look at the 2-week chart. I don't really care for it. Like, it doesn't matter that the 2-week chart has a 9 on it, right? That's not how I trade. I have, I know the same person keeps asking me about a 2-week chart, and the 2-week chart is irrelevant to me. I don't, unless you're gonna always look and trade the 2-week chart. Like, I know it's on a 9, but like, it doesn't matter, right? There's 2 reasons why it doesn't matter. One, you need this 9 to be statistically accurate. And in the past, we can look at other 9s, right? There were no 9s at all in the downtrend using a 2-week scale. The last 9 on the upside did not lead to anything. The 13 did not lead to anything. This 13 did not lead to anything. This 2-week 9 was useful, led to a 1 to 4 candle correction. This combo 13 didn't give you much. This 9 here came, a candle too late. This 9 here was good, but is that enough, right? Is that enough to make this 9 didn't lead to anything? There was no 9s or 13s along the entire bottom of the last bear market. There was a 9 here at the top, 1 candle off the high. So unless this time frame is giving you abnormally good turning points with the sequential, there's absolutely no reason to pay attention to it. I mean, there is an infinite number of time frames you can use. You can use 15 days. You can use 16 days. You can use 18 days, right? You can't cherry pick a time frame because there's always going to be a 9 somewhere, right? Either you have to use this time frame all the time because it is somehow statistically superior, or you never use it. So I'm not going to be using the, unless I'm going to switch my 1-week time frame to a 2-week time frame all the time, I'm going to choose not to pay attention to the 2-week time frame. That's me, right? Because I can't look at every single time frame. I already look at more time frames than I need to because I try to give my views to people that trade different time frames, from weekly all the way down to 1 hour, though I don't really find 1 hour all that useful or interesting. So please stop asking me about obscure time frames. And if you find them statistically useful in your trading, the best thing you can do for your portfolio is trade it and keep your mouth shut. All right. Why is it that every time I watch your videos, as I have for a long time, that you are so cool with what you do? I respect you. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for your comment. Okay, let's see what else we got. I don't really care what's happening with Litecoin. I don't really care about XRP either. The TD sequential is designed to work across all time frames, all assets. It's irrelevant, right? You can use it on 1-minute charts. You can use it on 10-year charts. It's designed to be used across all time frames, all assets. I can't look at all time frames because there is an infinite number of time frames. I have chosen the time frames I've chosen. These were the time frames I pay attention to before the sequential. I've never cared about the 4-hour chart in the stock market because the stock market is only open for 7 hours a day. But Bitcoin is open 24 hours a day. So an hourly chart in the stock market is about equivalent to a 4-hour chart in a 24-hour Bitcoin market. And I'm not sure why I look at a 1-hour chart of Bitcoin. It really is not that critical. Is it not better to wait for a price flip when using TD sequential? It's up to you how you use it. I prefer to wait for the price flip. In fact, I prefer to wait for the candle to go beyond the price flip candle. But I also trade the 9s themselves or the 13s themselves. Was the 30% pullback too fast? It was on the border of being too fast. It literally met my minimum criteria of being too fast. It's just right on the border. Yes, I wanted to see it longer, right? I wanted to see the pullback last at least a few weeks, but my minimum is 5 days. I wanted to see it go to 40 or 50%, but my minimum is 30%. It went exactly 30%, and it lasted exactly 5 days or 6 days. So it just met the bare minimum requirements. And bare minimum is not enough for me to try and catch the falling knife. I would have tried to catch the falling knife if we had been falling for a month and went down 50%. Hey, Brian, thank you for your little donation. 45,000 for the next top. That seems so conservative and inconsistent with Bitcoin's growth so far. Bitcoin's available supply is so limited. If we hit 20,000, don't you think the FOMO will drive Bitcoin ridiculously high? The answer is maybe. See, what you have to realize is it's a lot easier to go from $1,000 Bitcoin to $20,000 Bitcoin than a $20,000 Bitcoin to a $100,000 Bitcoin. Because with every bubble in Bitcoin, the more the value on chain, the harder it is to move it. It just is. And at $45,000 a Bitcoin, trust me, a lot of people will be interested in getting out. Okay? Because some people still, want their Lambos and they want, to cash that Bitcoin into something they can use in the real world. Because guess what? Most places do not accept your Bitcoin as a payment. And therefore, holding a Bitcoin that's worth $300,000 could be a little problematic because no one's going to accept that Bitcoin. Very few places do, unless adoption goes up exponentially, and I haven't seen that yet. In fact, from what we've seen is that the government is scared shitless of the Facebook coin. So they could get pretty aggressive against Bitcoin if one Bitcoin is $300,000. So cashing them out, I mean, it's a good problem, right? You're sitting on 10 Bitcoin, each one is worth $300,000, but you can't cash it out. You have a problem cashing it out. The government wants their piece, they want their taxes, they want to probe you if they know you have some Bitcoin. Selling a good chunk of that becomes a little bit tricky. Now, by not being able to sell, you become a hodler by default, which could potentially keep driving the price up. But with a rise in Bitcoin, right? Like, this is why every single bubble just goes up less. In 2013, we went up 100x in the entire 2013. From January to December, we went up 100x from $10, about 10 to 12, up to 1,200. So we went up 100x. In the next bubble, we went from what, about 300? Let's say 200. Let's round. Went from 200 at the low up to 20,000. So that's 20x less. So let's say this time we go up 10x from the low, right? So here, let me go to the monthly scale. And I've done these before, by the way. Try to talk about this kind of analysis. So maybe I'll just hold a shift key or something. So here is, I guess I could cherry pick the low, but that was like a year earlier. I'd rather just use a 1 year comparison. Either way, it's not going to be good, right? So how do you do this again? Yeah. So that should be what, 100x or so? That is 8,000%, right? So that is 8,500%. And then here, I mean, we can use this point. We can use this area. I mean, I don't know what the best area is to use. 6,000%. That's if I use that area, right? If I use the breakout area, which is here, that's 4,000%. So it's about half, okay? So now, if we use the breakout criteria, and we go up, say, 2,000%, where does that take us? Oh, that actually takes us way higher than I expected. Go figure. That takes us to the $85,000 range, right? Hey, it could, but let's just say if we break out, if we make it to the vicinity of 20,000, I'll probably be cashing some out at 45. I think I would love to give the $50,000 round number some respect. But if we can get above 50,000, then now I'll be looking at like 90,000. If we pass 20,000 this year, any thoughts on the probable length of time of the new bull cycle? Honestly, I think it'll be shorter because I think this bear cycle was significantly shorter than I anticipated. And therefore, I have to expect the next bull cycle to also be shorter. And also that the faster and higher we go up, the shorter it'll be. The longer it takes us to break 20,000, the longer it will be. So it's always time and price. The faster price goes up, the shorter the time. The slower the price goes up, the longer the time. Tone, is it impossible to get my old matrix mare on your show or another hopeful to get Andreas on or both? I mean, I think it'll be easier for me to get Trace on the show than Andreas. Andreas is hard to get. I'm also not sure what exactly I'm going to talk to Andreas about. Hey, Tone, how serious is the G20 support for forcing exchanges to hand over user information? I don't think the G20 is necessarily like forcing exchanges to hand over user information has nothing to do with the G20 summit. Like this is not on, I doubt this is on their agenda. That's going to happen regardless. Like every single crypto exchange will have to follow the same rules that every traditional exchange does. They're all going to have to share information. They're all going to have to KYC. They're all going to have to, know every trade you make. Otherwise, the exchange will be shut down. So enjoy the non-KYC exchanges while they last, because they're not going to last. I will never sell all my Bitcoin. That's just insane. I'm taking them to the grave. How much does adoption play in the price over the next 10 years? I mean, a lot. Bitcoin is actually adopted and useful. Shitcoins are not. So I would, to me, anytime a shitcoin goes up, it's speculation. When Bitcoin goes up, you have to evaluate how much of it is speculation, how much of it is adoption, because Bitcoin is actually getting adopted. Shitcoins are not. Not even Ethereum, not even Ripple, especially not Ripple. All right, see what else you guys got. Guys, I can't tell you when to buy and when to sell Bitcoin. That's not how this works. I don't have thoughts on Ripple. I try not to think about it. I try not to think about its existence to waste my brain cells. I use Bitcoin every day. I don't have a problem with it. Just pay a 20-cent fee. Of course, if you're using Bitcoin to pay for 5-cent objects, you may want to learn Lightning. Hey, Brian. Oh, yeah, I see your other super chat. Why are you so skeptical of institutional buying with risk-reward ratio 1%? The reason why I'm skeptical of institutional buying is if you're a big institution, it's a big risk to your company buying crypto. How are you securing it? Who is securing it for you? Is Binance going to secure it for you as they get hacked? Is Coinbase going to secure it for you? If I was running these big institutions, why would I want to risk my potentially $1 million salary on holding some crypto and then have it get hacked, have to explain to my investors why I lost 5% of the fund because I didn't know how to protect Bitcoin, and now I lost my $1 million salary and a bunch of employees got fired? I am very skeptical of institutional buying because there is no good mechanism to justify hacked Bitcoins yet. Maybe Fidelity will solve the problem. Maybe Bakkt will solve the problem, but they haven't done it yet. So I am very skeptical of institutional buying because it may not be legal for them to buy it, and they may be. That's my view on it. All right, guys, I think I'm going to leave it here. I think that was a good stream. And want to go out and enjoy Odessa for a minute. All right, guys. Let me see where the price is right now on a 4-hour chart. Look, it's bouncing off the moving average. So I will be watching this area. And if Bitcoin breaks this area of resistance, I have no choice based on my own rules that I wrote about. I mean, I had these rules long before 2015, but these are my rules of how a trend change is defined. Please reread this article. I will add it to the video description. It was in the last video description. It's called Trend Change Part 2, written in Cointelegraph back in February of 2015. All right, guys, and on that note, also, if you're interested in the indicator that I'm constantly using, you can go to tonebase.com and click on the word indicator. And you have all the details here. If you're interested in attending a workshop, there's currently one left for you to attend in Dallas, Texas, but there will be webinars. And then these webinars is what I teach at the workshops in person. The next webinar is entries, exits, and stop losses. And there'll be a webinar after that for money management, which is also critical. And that's about it. And I will, let me stop screen share. And I will see you all on the next one, saying goodbye from Odessa, Ukraine. Bye, guys.